Hello, this is Chris from Chris and Cars, and welcome back in my Kia Niro plug-in hybrid, or as I call it, Megatron. And today we are going to talk a little bit about charging the car while driving, because unlike like the Golf GTE, you don't have a setting where you can say charge a battery while driving, but there are a few tricks you can use to charge up the battery while driving. And I will try to demonstrate them on my way back from work today, because I will go on the motorway. It's you can of course do it in everywhere else. You don't have to be on the motorway, but it's typical you would want to at least maintain the battery state while driving on the motorway. So if you go to a city, you can drive EV mode there and then use the petrol engine in faster speeds. At least that's what I'm doing. I'm going all EV when I'm driving around in town, and when I have to go on the motorway back on my daily commute from home to work, I use the normal hybrid. The engine will help drive the car. And on that trip, I can actually charge a lot of kilometers. If I don't do anything, just drive, I typically get around 5 kilometers of charging. But if I really want to, I can get even more. And I will demonstrate that in this video. So now it's time to get back home. And let's see if we can get some extra kilometers of EV range on this car. But before I continue, I have a few things from the last part, from the last video I made about the adaptive cruise control. I talked a little bit about if you have like when you came to a stop, and if there were a car holding, that the adaptive cruise control couldn't see the car. And I will point this down here, and hopefully you can see. You can see right now I have adaptive cruise control on, and around where it says 90 kilometers an hour, you can see 2 cars. That means that the radar has a confirmed lock on the car in front of me. Often when you come driving to a stopped car, you will not see the symbol. Even if there's a car, the radar will not detect the car, simply because it's not moving. So you have to be aware of that. As long as there's no car pictured in the display, the car has not sensed it, and it won't act according to that. Another thing, today it's a handhold, because I have to show the instrument cluster when we get on the motorway in 1 kilometer. But another thing about the adaptive cruise control is that if you drive in winter times, I've a couple of times experienced that because of melted snow or dirt at the road, it stops working. But you can always use the cruise control as a normal cruise control. Just hold this button and keep it pressed in, and then it will change to normal cruise control without the adaptive function. But now we are closing in on the motorway, and you can see we have I'm going in EV mode, and we have 8 kilometers of range left. And I need those 8 kilometers for when I go off the motorway. I need those so I can drive in EV mode the rest of the way home. I stated before that running in EV mode on a motorway with 110 kilometers an hour or 120, that's 75 miles, is a really bad idea, because then the consumption is way too high, and it would be cheaper and better to use fuel. But let's say I'm going in the EV mode. I'm going to switch from EV mode to hybrid mode, HIV mode. And now we can see that it's still actually taking power. You can see in the little display in the middle, it's still taking power from the electric motor, and you can see it's still in EV mode. I hope it's not too shaky, the recording here. I try to keep it. If I put it in sports mode, then it stopped. Then it stopped using the electric motor, and it starts to charge the motor. No, the battery. What rubbish! And if you see at the eco meter, by the way, I think I need a little bit more power. I'm going really slow. Okay. I'm using some power, and now in sports mode it starts using the electric motor too, and that's the whole idea about this car. That's a trick, if you can say that. Look at the eco meter. I call that the dial at the left, eco meter. It's still around the middle. As long as it's in the middle, it will not charge. Okay, and now it starts to charge. But if I press the engine, put down the speeder, you can see it goes, as soon as it passes the center, it starts to drain from the battery. It starts to use the electric motor to make sure you have enough power. Okay, so now it's in EV and now it's not. Now I go to, because I've never drive in sports mode. Now I go back to normal hybrid mode. But again, the needle is just a little bit to the left of the center, and it's just running on petrol. And since I'm not using too much power, the engine is charging the battery. And that's how you can charge the battery while driving, because there's no button like in the e-Golf or other cars. So the only way you can charge the car is to make sure that the eco meter, that you're not draining too much power from the car. As long as you're about this, then it's fine. As soon as we have the needle more than 50%, it will begin to use the electric motor and drain from the battery. But around here and under that level in the eco meter, you will charge the motor. The battery, of course. And just by taking this road and taking it slowly, instead of I could use, actually it's legal to drive faster here. But I could let's just try for once. I normally never do this. Okay, and then we have a car in front of us, so we have to go back or around it. Okay, so now we'll start to use more power. I'm going. This is a speed limit in Denmark. Niro is showing it has an error if it's a 135 kilometers per hour at the cruise control. I'm actually only going 130 kilometers per hour, and that's legal. But let's see, we are now going 130 kilometers, and you can see the needle is over eco, and it's still using the electric motor, and that's because it needs the power to give you the smooth, nice feeling of enough power in the car. But as soon as I go back to where we were before, it will change, because I don't require so much speed, I don't require that much energy from the motor, and it can just use the petrol motor. Okay, now we are on it's a bit uphill here, so that's why it's shortly it requires a little bit more power. I know this this road I go every day, so on the first actually 80%, it's not really charging anything, and then the last part, it's going downhill a little bit, and that means then I charge maybe 3-4 kilometers on that part, unless I have a really strong headwind, because then I don't charge anything at all. Again, because the car then requires more power, and it will drain from the battery, since it will use the electric motor. And that's just how it is. That's how it works. And if you know that, and you think about that, you can actually control the state of charge on your battery a little bit, and you can recharge. Of course, if you're really driving with a strong headwind or in really bad weather condition, you really have to drive slowly to avoid using the electric motor. But other than these conditions, it's possible. It's possible. But of course, if you want to go like 80 miles or 130 kilometers an hour, well, It's really hard to charge the motor. You can get some extra power to the battery if you drive in sports mode all the time, because it will go up in RPMs, and meaning that it doesn't have to drain as much energy from the electric motor, and it produces more power. But that's an expensive way of charging the car. I've tested it, and you lose really a lot of mpgs by doing that. So it's not, from an economic point of view, it's really a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I like the fact that I can charge the battery like this. If I go on a highway with 90 kilometers an hour or maybe 80 kilometers an hour, it's even better. Of course, I can charge even more. So that's really nice. And if you know the way you're going, you know how much you're going to drive one day, then you can plan to use EV driving where it's most beneficial, and then use the petrol engine where it's the most beneficial. So on motorway, should always go in hybrid, because it just EV mode with 110 kilometers an hour. Well, it's double up on the consumption, and that's really bad. And another thing, while we're driving here, I had one making a comment on one of my older videos about I put some music on the video, and he wanted to hear how much noise there are in the car when driving at motorway speed. I would not put music on this video, and now you can hear. This is not dead quiet as a really luxury car, but it's really nice, and you can have a conversation with everyone in the car without any problems. Last thing I'm going to say about the use of the electric motor combined with the petrol motor is, I was reading today at a Danish Kia forum where people have bought this car because they want to tow I think it's called caravans, trailers after their cars, and this car is allowed to 1,300 kilos. But after 100 kilometers of driving, the battery is drained, and they feel, oh, we don't have any power left. And no, of course you don't, because you have 105 horsepower left. When there's no more electric motor available, you just have the petrol engine, and it's only have 105 kilo or 105 horsepower. And if you have 1,300 kilos plus maybe some extra people in the car and all that weight, 105 horsepower, well, you won't have a really good car for towing trailers or caravans or whatever. So I would not recommend this car if you are going on long vacations where you want to have a really heavy thing after the car. It's not good for that. It's fine if you just have to go 50, maybe 100 kilometers, then it's fine. But other than that, you need to find another car. Then this is not the car. It's, as soon as the battery is depleted, well, then you just have 105 horsepower. So it's difficult, I think, to Kia, because they could, of course, lower the limit and say instead of the 1,300 kilos, you could have maybe 750 kilos, and then people would know it was not for caravans. But on the other hand, why should they do that? Because if I wanted to trail something for a short distance, why should I not be able to trail 1,000 kilo if the car actually can do it? But yeah. I think there are some really disappointed buyers that thought they could go to take their trailers or caravans on a 1,000-kilometer trip with no problem in this car, and then suddenly realize that well, they can't. So too bad for them. But I will see. We were on how much? We had 8 kilometers of range, I think, when we started on the motorway. Now it's on 5 because we used some power in experimenting with the drain on the electric motor. So I think I will drive on until I reach the exit, and let's see how much range I have at that point, if I have enough to get back home. It's just added another kilometer, so I have 6 kilometers EV range now. But I talk to you guys a little bit later. 1 kilometer left, and then we are at the exit of the motorway. And well, when we started to really charge the car, we were on 4 kilometers, and now I have 8 kilometers of range. So at the moment I have gained like 4 kilometers of extra EV range, and my trip here on the motorway is around 19 miles, 33, 34 kilometers. But again, it depends on, you know, how flat it is and weather condition. But I almost always get some miles or kilometers on the battery when driving here. I have to turn off now. Okay, let's go. 9 kilometers. So we just got an extra kilometer, which is enough for me to get all the way back to home. Yes, that's it. I'm back home. The trip is over, and I have absolute 0 range left of EV driving, which is fine because I just have to go drive into my garage and then start charging. That's good. Anyway, I hope you found some useful information in this video. Please feel free to, in the comment, ask questions or make suggestions. If there's something you would like me to show from this car, let me know and I will try to make a video about it. And then, of course, I will be back with some updates when something interesting happens. And until then, take care, stay safe, and then I see you. Bye-bye.